Hi, and welcome to another video where I attempt to build something in bricks. The other day I saw this underlined heading, which was a small bar and a larger bar, and when you hovered over it, it swapped them over, and I thought that was a really interesting effect, and I'm going to try and build that on here. You'll probably see me blundering around and thinking things through. I hope it's not too bad. Right, first of all, let's add a block, and in that block let's add a heading, some basic text and a button. I'm really not bothered. Of course it's not inside it, so let's put it inside the block. Let's call this info card. Let's just call this text and this CTA, and let's bem this using acss. Just makes it a lot easier. I've got that there, and just for sakes I'm just going to add a quick grid on here because I want to see that more of a card. So let's make that a grid 3. Again, this is all using acss. It's not the point of this. The point is to try and get a nice heading under there. I'm going to be using pseudo elements because they're really useful for things like this. So let's click on heading and make sure I click the heading. I always forget to do that. I wish it automatically selected it if you've got a class. First thing I know, using pseudo elements, I'm going to have to make this position relative. Yeah, and put the colon in. Right, let's just try and get something on. So let's do a before element. Let's position that absolute. Absolute. Content will be none. You just have to have some content now, I believe. And let's just give it a width and a height for now. A width of, let's say, 20 pixels, and a height of, let's say, 5 pixels, and a background color, let's say red. Right, that doesn't seem to be showing up. Do we need to say where it's going to be? Why is that not showing up? Position, absolute, contents, that, width, height. Let's save that. Let's give it a display of flex, see if that helps. Well, that doesn't seem to help at all. Why is it not showing up? What have I done wrong here? Position relative, root, before, content, position, display flex, background color. Let's refresh the builder. Let's just see if it's something to do with the builder. Yep, Bricks was having a fit. I thought it should have worked. Right. I didn't. I mean, I often type things wrong, but I thought that looked right this time. Right, on the heading, let's go back to this. Style, CSS. Well, we want it to be underneath. So let's do a bottom of, for now, let's do minus 15 pixels. Sorry. Minus 15 pixels, so that's underneath. So that's the first one on there. Let's just copy that because a lot of it is going to be the same and make this an after. Let's see, so that's that. Let's call this blue. So that's on top of that now. What we need to do is move it across. So first of all, let's not give this a height and width, or shall we? Yeah, no, we do need to give it a height and width, but let's do it so that it's a variable, a locally scoped variable. I need to type variable. Let's call this border height, and let's say that is 5 pixels for now. Border width. Do we need border width? Yes, we're going to need the border width. And let's call that 3 rem for now. Let's call that 0.1 rem or m. Let's do it. M. Right. So that's border height. So that's that, and let's do that as border height. Border height. Width. TH. Oh. I think that's the ACS also automatically closing those down. Sorry, auto completing. Right. So that's done that. Now what I want to do is say that we want to move this across, and I don't need that as 3 rem. Let's do that as 1 m. And let's make that 0.25, so that should change both of them, which is why I've done that. But now what I want to do is say that we want to move it, the second one. So we'll say left, and we'll do a calc of var border width plus 10 pixels. and this width. Oh, I need to put the comma in there. So it should move it along. Why did I not move it along? I mean, really, this here needs to be a lot bigger. In the thing I saw, it was like twice the size. So let's calc this. Width, and then we'll do that times 3. Close the bracket off. So that's that. That's VAR. So that's, and put some bracket in that. Right, VAR border width. Plus 10 pixels. I don't need that there. Right. Okay, so that was a bit painful, but I essentially have a nice fancy border. Really, a lot of this is the same. So, can I do root after and then what we don't need there is that, and we don't need that, but really that and that needs to just be on the before element, doesn't it? So let's do a before, and that there needs to be in there. What I also want is a radius on this. Border radius of 50 view width. So that makes that much nicer. So now we have quite a fancy border underline. I think that looks pretty good. Yep, let's just save that before I go any further. Now, let's see. What I want to do is say that when we hover, when we hover over the heading, the before element, let's see, we want that to go bigger. So essentially we wanted to swap it around, so we want that in there. So let's see, if we hover over that, that's definitely got bigger. And then when we hover the after element, we'll go to this width, I believe. But I also need to move it. So let's have, let me think about this, a border gap. Of 0.5 M. Let's copy that, and then plus 10 pixels. Let's change that to be var border gap. I don't know why, but that does that, so that works. Let's just check that it is working. Let's make that 0.2. Yep, that's working. So let's say it's a 0.3, 4. That looks quite nice. 0.4. So on here, when we hover, this goes 3 times the size. This is 3 times the size, but I need to move it. So we need to go to the left. We need to calc, and what I need to do is the var border width. Times 3. Plus the border gap. Is that right? So calc border width times 3. So that gives it the thicker one because it's the after element is that size, because that's what size we want to move it, because it's that big. So we need to move it its whole width plus the border gap. But then we only want to make it the border width. That didn't work. So let's just take that and put it in the after and make that blue. That's so I can see it. Right. So that's made that big. Calc var border width. Close that off. Times 3. Let's just see if it's a bricks issue again. I don't want to be chasing around if it's something to do with the way bricks is rendering it. Right. Info card heading, style, CSS. No, so when you hover over that, the red one gets 3 times bigger, which is right. According to this gets 3 times bigger. The width is the border width. That is the after root hover after. That's right. Width is var border width. And I want to move it along the left. Calc var border width. Yep. Times 3 plus the border gap. What if we take off the plus border gap? Does that make any difference? Let's just see if it moves. No, it's not moving. Root hover, the after element. Let's just put this in 200 pixels. Moves it 200 pixels. So there's something wrong with my calculation somewhere. So let's start again. I want it to have a calc. Did I spell calc wrong? Var border width. Sorry, I'm the world's slowest typist. That's border width. Let's just go times 3. Count. Oh, border width times 3. Does that work? Yes, that's moved it. So then we want to go plus var border gap. Oh, finally, that works. I must have. If you're watching this, and you're probably screaming at the screen, you know, I typed. I think I put cal, not calc. Thinking back on how it was. Right, now obviously we need a transition, so we will need a transition on here because we want it to affect both of them. So let's say transition. Can we just do the width of 0.3 seconds ease? Does that work? Yes, but that looks really weird. So don't do the width. I think I'm getting from that. Just put all, and that works. That works fine. Let's make this var primary and take off this. So that works. So now if we look on the front end just to make sure that works. Yeah, that works pretty well. I think what I'm going to do is end it there, and then in another video I might look at making this a whole card and making it so that when you hover over the card the underline effect happens, and maybe something else as well. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to see, like to see me attempt to do that. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you soon in another video.